still above the recommended threshold. The country logged a new record high in daily cases on Saturday at more than 19,000. OCTA says the reproductive number, which measures COVID-19 transmission, may start to decline by September. The group adds that the full effect of the enhanced community quarantine may be felt only after 3 to 4 weeks. The government expects to get close to 195 million vaccine doses in the coming months. This consists of 50 million vaccines delivered every month starting September. The government is targeting to vaccinate 70% of the population by year end. Some airline news now. Cebu Pacific is canceling 30 flights with Metro Manila under extended modified ECQ. Affected flights include Manila to Bohol, Boracay, Cebu, and Siargao, among others. Flights from Cebu to Boracay, Cagayan de Oro, and Tacloban were also canceled. The Philippine Airlines, on the other hand, is preparing for more repatriation flights from UAE, Malaysia, and Thailand by September. PAL says only Philippine passport holders are allowed to board the repatriation flights. Now, the Trade Department is backing a 20% operational capacity for restaurants for vaccinated dine-in customers. Trade Secretary Mon Lopez says this is to incentivize getting vaccinated and to bring back jobs in the industry. The same proposal is also being pushed by the Tourism Department for museums and exhibits. Lopez clarified that both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals will be allowed inside restaurants once restrictions are downgraded. Restaurants are still prohibited to operate dine-in and alfresco services in Metro Manila, where MECQ is extended until September 7. Okay, let's have a check. Again, local markets closed for in the observance of National Heroes Day, but elsewhere around the globe, of course, trading continues for one. Let's take a look at the U.S. futures here. Looking steady at the moment, the Dow Jones and S&P 500, both in the green. Nasdaq, however, slightly on the downside here. This comes after that record surge on Friday in the wake of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speech. He signaled relaxing pandemic-era support, such as sparing bond purchases this year, but says they are in no hurry to raise interest rates. Most of Asia keeping track of those gains. Japanese indices, as you can see right here, closed higher. You have the topics up over 8%. The Nikkei likewise also in the green by 0.5%. Hang Seng also on the upside here at least so far this day, up close to 0.25%. But the Shenzhen and Shanghai both losing this session, this amid regulatory broadside against private industries in China. Chinese state-run media in a commentary touted President Xi Jinping's clampdown as a profound revolution and warned that those who would resist might face punishment. Other indices here in Asia, you have Korean and Aussie stocks all closing the day in the positive territory. The Kospi is up 0.3%. S&P 200 at the same time also inching higher by 0.2%. Now, the Delta variant has upended factory production across Asia, and this led to gridlocks in the global supply chain. Bloomberg's Brendan Murray explains more of this in this quick take.
There is just a lot of demand right now for products, whether those be items for our home office or for backyard entertainment. This has been a consistent issue for the past year or so throughout various lockdowns. The global supply chain is made up of ships and trains and trucks, and it's designed for predictable patterns of demand, which is the exact opposite of what we have right now. A lot of uncertainty about whether certain economies are going to be open or closed based on the outbreaks that they're having. So we're just seeing a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, and a lot of uncertainty disrupt the whole system. The auto industry is very reliant on semiconductors, these memory chips that are in basically everything we buy that has sort of an electronic component to it. And they come from certain economies in Asia like Taiwan, where they're having trouble meeting the demand. The supply chain issues are going to be around as long as you think the virus is going to be around. First or second quarter of 2022 is when a lot of people see the normalizing of all the shipping and transportation disruptions that we're seeing. But if they don't, we might be dealing with this for another year or two or three.
Now, talking about supply chain domestically, local traders and producers are up in arms about the Agriculture Department's decision to allow the importation of up to 60,000 metric tons of fish in the fourth quarter. Shaila Francisco joins us live for more details. Shaila, why are they opposing this move?
Yes, producers and traders are pointing to a discrepancy, saying that the approved volume of 60,000 metric tons is way higher than the recommendation of stakeholders during their consultation. In a meeting with the National Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Management Council, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, mentioned that the deficiency is around 45,000 metric tons in the last quarter due to the closed fishing season. That is according to the members of the council, who serves as a recommendatory body to the DA. It includes members from the Interior Department, fisher folk operators, and processors. The council then recommended the importation of only 30,000 metric tons to augment the supply deficiency, as the remaining supply can be filled by fish farmer groups and municipal fishermen. The importation covers small pelagic fish, which includes galunggong, mackerel, and bonito. Stakeholders say the approved volume can affect fisher folk, as these could flood the market and depress prices even in regions that are self-sufficient. Traders and commercial fishermen also doubt that importers can fill all the volume approved by the DA. They explained that the wholesale prices at 88 pesos per kilo, as required by the order, may not be possible due to higher freight costs brought by the pandemic and fewer stock from exporting countries. With this, they can only do so at 90 to 100 pesos per kilo. For its part, the DA said the approved volume is more than the recommendation to serve as a buffer for any worst-case scenario. Now, if the volume cannot be filled in, this can be augmented by aquaculture. The DA assures the public the decision will not affect local production and that they're just balancing the needs of consumers and fishery sector. The poultry sector is also raising a few issues related to importation. Raisers say there is an oversupply of the commodity due to deficiency in demand amid the ongoing quarantine restrictions. Currently, farm gate prices have dropped by more than 10 pesos in just over 2 weeks. For now, the agriculture producers continue to ask the DA to stop its pro-import policy and focus on strengthening local industry instead. They're also asking for social amelioration and production subsidy. Just the DA has earlier said that they will be unable to provide social amelioration, but they have available credit programs for the affected sector. Jess?
All right, thank you very much for those updates, Shaila Francisco. European countries dominated Bloomberg's COVID-19 resilience ranking for the month of August. This means these are the best places to be during the pandemic. Now, where are the worst 5 places to be during this health crisis? They're all in Southeast Asia, and yes, that includes the Philippines. More details from this quick take.
So in the August COVID resilience ranking, we see European economies ranked 9 out of the top 10. What's really driving this, though, is actually how the Delta variant has just challenged and defied the success models of so many other places. So, for example, that COVID zero fortress-like containment model that we saw out of New Zealand and Australia, Delta has infiltrated those defenses and put those places in lockdown now. At the same time, on the other end, the vaccination and reopening champions that we saw, like the US and Israel, that were just moving so quickly with inoculation and reopening, they've also now seen new surges of Delta, seeding a concerning a number of breakthrough infections and sending unvaccinated people into critical care wards. So what that's meant really is that Europe has emerged in August as the most resilient group of economies based on this sort of middle ground strategy of widespread vaccination and reopening tied to vaccination status. But what we don't know, of course, is how long this can hold, because we did see that good dynamic happen in some of those other vaccination champions as well previously, and now they've been inundated with Delta. What we're seeing in the August ranking, as has been happening for several months now, is that the bottom of the ranking is very much populated by developing countries because of their lack of access to vaccines. Rich countries have really dominated that supply of vaccines, and now we're seeing places talk about another round of booster shots, which is going to hoover up even more of that limited supply and continue to leave so many of these developing countries unvaccinated and vulnerable to Delta without a shield of inoculation. So at the bottom of this ranking, we're seeing countries in the Southeast Asia region. This region as a whole has emerged really as the new global hotspot for the virus. Southeast Asia as a whole had the highest death toll per capita in the past month. And number 53 is Malaysia, where per capita new infections is one of the highest in the world. And because of the situation with Delta, the central bank in Malaysia has halved their economic forecast for the year, and that's really brought down their ranking as well. So one of the most sobering things that has happened with the rise of Delta is that people realize that this pandemic is not coming to an end, and in fact, we're merely perhaps at the end of the first phase, and Delta has very much brought in a new phase of the challenge. Could be positive examples to look to in the ranking, though, is the example of the Netherlands and the UK, both of which rose in the rankings and are amongst that group of European economies doing well. So what we've seen in those places is, while their Delta waves did surge in quite great proportion, those waves went down without a big rise in fatalities, and they have seen those waves wane without disrupting reopening progress. This is hopefully what we're going to be seeing in places like the US and Israel as well, and this round of booster shots that are coming out will likely help them to continue to keep fatalities down as they reopen, because as we do know, the Western economies very much have said they're not going to turn back the clock. They're not going to go back into lockdown. Reopening and normalization is the way to go.
And those are the biggest stories from the economic and corporate front today, August 28, 2021. Catch Businessworld live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jess Delos Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.